They just late. Yeah, well, and actually, Rigo's actually 2 minutes early. She's over there fixing her hair and stuff. Yeah.
You know, my mom screamed at me. She was like, my mom was like, you better wear a hat.
She legit has a flat iron in her hand. Like, This actually should make it into the episode. Like, she legit got a flat iron.
I got everything here.
My mom screamed at me this morning. She's like, oh, what you doing today? I'm like, oh, at 1 o'clock, I got to film the podcast. She's like, oh, please wear a hat. I'm like,
oh. What? I mean, Heidi literally texted about it. I don't know if you saw that. In the group chat, she literally goes, well, Vanessa says, here's the info for the meeting.
Yeah.
Heidi goes, bad. And I go, which means, Heidi, don't be late. I'm going to try. She's still late.
Hey.
Yo, she in her car.
Hello, hi.
She's in her mobile office.
She's in her car.
She's trying to see if she can get better Wi-Fi from the car.
Exactly.
Oh, swear, you sideways, my man. Change the camera.
Yeah, both of y'all got to turn it sideways, yeah.
Heidi, I hope we're not going to have that steering wheel in front the whole time.
It's all right. That would be like a perfect personification
that's
of Heidi.
Definitely Heidi.
What is that, baby powder? You going to slap somebody?
Come on with it. Baby powder? Smell that is. You changing diapers?
Slap cam.
It's wipes for my hands.
Coronavirus!
Put a hat on. Ain't nobody want to see your ugly hairline.
Yeah, because you know Brandon don't be doing much editing with these.
Wait, let me put my
gotta keep it real for the people.
Remember that my English is not very good looking, but I am very glad to say that. Enjoy the show.
All right, what's up, y'all? It is episode 7. 6?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't count. My bad.
Rewind. We're starting again.
7. 6. All right. Episode 6. GPS, God, people, self. This episode, I don't know what we're calling it. We went back and forth. I said autopilot. Heidi said cruise control. We'll explain what that means in a little bit. But we're actually just going to start in prayer before we start acting a fool, and then we don't ever get there. So, Heidi, go for it.
Amen. Thank you, God, for bringing us together in these times. Thank you for blessing us with each other, with our families, and with our health. I want to pray for those who are not healthy right now and who need a little boost. May you give them that boost, Lord. And with that, all praise to the Most High. Amen.
Amen.
I mean,
J-Lo back on.
all right. What are we saying? Yeah. The episode. I can't completely lost my thought.
You were explaining
I don't even know.
why we were going
I'm trying to remember what the name of it is
titles.
because we don't have the name. Okay.
Autopilot.
And
It's gonna be a long
but
podcast.
it's supposed to be your job, Rigo. First of all,
You didn't.
like,
You the one in charge. You the one talking. I'm just letting you.
yeah, but last couple times you messed it up, so I was like, all right, I'm gonna do it this time, and I still messed it up. So
That it doesn't matter.
Yeah, both messed it up.
You're gonna mess it up. Yeah.
it's all right. I think.
I'll
it's a
swear
thing.
you in charge of this from now on.
I think it just shows.
I bet.
So
I'll make sure.
all right, so this is autopilot / cruise control. You ever been in a situation where you're like not thinking and you're just going through stuff? You know what I'm saying? Like, and you're like, oh, like literally, like you ever be like, you have a morning routine, you start driving in one place and you're like, oh wait, no, I'm not going that way today. I'm going this way. You know what I'm saying? Like, but this time that kind of just happens throughout. So I was brainstorming this topic. There's 2 parts to this. There's times where we're on autopilot and it's kind of bad. You know what I'm saying? Like we wind up going the wrong way because we're not paying attention. Then there's other times like autopilot, like for example, like parts of autopilot is the things that you can't choose, right? So like where you were born, where you grew up, you know what I'm saying? Family background, financial status. that kind of sets you up. That's not something you consciously chose, but it puts you in a certain position. You know what I'm saying? Either good or bad, you know, in both ways. So if we want to kind of sit and just think and reflect on like how those things have been for us in our lives. Just jump in. Whoever's talking in the background, just volunteer that person, whoever that is.
Where you go? Oh boy.
I gotta go.
When you unmute yourself.
I thought you that was your sign, like, yo, we go, like, cut that out.
No. Yeah, I said whoever just talked in the background volunteered that person, whoever that came through. So.
Okay. Thanks, Grandma.
Shouts out to Mamita.
Shout out to Mamita.
She shouted herself out, sweetie.
Yeah. So autopilot. So I guess of things that I could not control, grew up in East New York, Spanish, male, you know, like everything biological, I guess. Of regular autopilot. What? You said things you couldn't control, like.
Okay.
Sorry.
I guess my autopilot comes in a lot when I drive, like especially when I was driving to work at 6:30 in the morning, 6:10 in the morning. I just get in the car and I daydream, and I swear like a whole movie goes on, and then next thing I know I'm at work.
Hopefully it's a car crash, bro. Like,
no, I drive safely. It's just autopilot, like automatically turn here, get on the highway, drive, speed, whatever. So
speed, whatever.
Gonna end up on an episode of Shady World News, man.
Listen, at that time in the morning, at like 6:30 in the morning, 6:15 in the morning, when I'm going to work, no one's on the road. So, but I guess, you know, I know for a fact a lot of the cruise control for me comes on when I drive or when I do like when I read sometimes. Like if I'm reading, sometimes like I just straight like I go through it fast. I don't subconsciously know what I'm reading. At the end, I'm like, wait, what did I just read? And I have to go back and read it again.
That's happened to me.
So I guess for me, those are 2 times that I cruise control, autopilot, or whatever we're calling this episode comes in.
Has there ever been like a time where like one of those things happen and then like you wind up, let's go bad first. Like something went wrong because you weren't consciously engaged?
Yeah. Especially, for me, since I was doing an experiment and I was reading the directions why I did it, and I kind of sped through it, and I was like, wait, I gotta read that again. And by the time I went back to read, the time I had to do whatever I had to do expired. So, and I was like, oh, and then it says do not do longer than 45 seconds. I was like, oh, well, that's an L. So, yeah, you know, and luckily not that. Driving, I can't think of off the top. I know driving, I will always go to the wrong place. Like if I'm coming home, I will go to my house instead of going to my mom's house. Like if I had to go pick up stuff from my mom, I'll go to my house and be like, oh wait, I have to go all the way around. So, yeah.
Gotcha.
Josue de la Cruz, you're up.
Don't let him use your slave name like that.
Your slave.
Don't get it twisted, sweetie. I saved the slaves. Oh my god, let's not get into that. Wow. Anywho. Man.
Stay with
I guess a time like I've had autopilot kind of come on is like either going to school or like coming back home from school. Or like just like being in class sometimes and I'm just sitting there and I'm just like not really paying attention, so that I end up like missing half the stuff. Or like I'm trying to really think like when is it? I mean, I would say like when I mentioned like in a previous episode, like when I was younger, like going to math, sometimes I would just sit there and not really pay attention. So like that's kind of like when I was on the auto cruise, like I would just sit there and then like wait for everybody else to get up, wait for everybody else to nail. So that was kind of a moment where I had like my auto cruise on. I'm trying to think of anything else. Like I don't know. I'm a little brain dead today, so.
Yeah, I think we all are.
We know what you was doing. Turned 21, how to act.
That was last week.
Well, good thing confession's being offered again. I don't know if y'all heard that announcement.
One of the difficulties of this time has been the absence of receiving communion, as we know, but also of the sacrament of reconciliation, confession. If you feel that need, we'd ask you to please call the rectory office and make an appointment. And through that appointment, we'll set a time that you would be able to receive the sacrament.
Make that appointment, bro. Go make that appointment.
We all should go make that appointment together.
I think that'd be too much for Father to handle in one day.
Father might quit. Father might.
He's gonna cancel. He's gonna cancel confession.
Father might resign.
Like, we don't need confessions in this parish. We need therapy.
We need serious help. Oh man.
I do not deny
That you need help?
Huh?
That you need help?
Delayed reaction.
What? What?
Just forget it.
It's all right.
Next.
I just turned my wiper on because it was just like too much. Anyway,
I think you're up, Heidi.
I guess it's my turn. I guess my life, I don't really go on like autopilot, cruise control, whatever, because I need different in my life. Like I can't be one of those people that does the same thing every day. I can't. Like, I'm gonna do the same thing for 3 days, maybe, but that's a lot. But I will say that a little bit before November, my life was on autopilot. My prayer life was on autopilot. And it was just like, okay, I'm gonna go to mass. That was pretty much it. I would go to mass. I remember somebody asked me to like pray the rosary with them, and it was just like, Dios te salve Maria. Like, I wasn't even thinking about it when I was praying. You know, it was just like reflex. And then when it came time for me to like work the jornada and coordinate the jornada, it was something that I took very seriously because I was in charge and I was like really scared. I'm gonna be honest. Because I'm very prone to like messing things up. So I was like, yo, I can't mess this up. It's a whole weekend. And it was a lot of girls that went on the retreat. It was 40 girls and then my team of 10 and then an extra team of 5. And I was like, you know, it's not gonna work unless I pray. And I really pray hard. And I can say that in preparation time for that retreat, I've never prayed so hard in my life. And I've never prayed so consciously in my life. That was, I think, the important part. And I took it very seriously in the sense of like praying for other people. Because for me, it's very easy to like just pray, you know, the prayers that we know, whatever. But it's kind of hard for me to pray for people separately and like intentionally. So it was different. Like, it really changed up. I don't know if I have a story of like an autopilot going bad. The only thing I could think of is like at my old job, like it was very like things became routine for me when I worked in the after school. And then like when I would have to train the new people, I'm just like, yeah, bro, like just do whatever. Like, it wasn't, you know?
Sure.
Yeah. And then one of the new people complained about how the OGs don't really teach them anything. And then I felt bad because I'm like, yo, like I actually want to be a teacher and like I pride myself on being a mentor, and here I am like taking that opportunity away from them when I have the skill set to pass it on. So I had to really reevaluate how I was doing things, and like, yeah, I felt like crap, but I was like, come back, let me train you. That was it. Did I answer the questions?
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
I mean, honestly, in my head, I was like wondering, it's like, okay, is this either me or Vanessa? So.
No, I was laughing because you moved and your Wi-Fi like skidded with you, but you froze a little bit. But yeah,
I was gonna say, I was like, I was thinking about the prayer life part. All of us except for Josue, like, you remember how you had to pray every day back when we was in Catholic school, and how in the morning you would just say the prayer like, "Our Father who art," and you would sound like you were summoning something else that was supposed to be religious. That's the only thing I was thinking of that whole time.
Yeah, not for nothing. Like, so I don't know if I said this on here, but my background, like my grandparents, my grandmother specifically, like this is about like 3-4 years ago. I was trying to make, because my grandmother was making these bracelets, right? And like she was learning how to bead stuff. I was like, can you teach me that so I can learn how to make these kind of rosaries, right? And she was like, man, I don't know how to, you know what I'm saying? And then my grandmother shared with me, like, she's like, she had no idea what a rosary is. She used to laugh at it as a little kid because again, I didn't grow up in church, all that stuff, but mainly is because of like this background stuff of how this stuff happened. So my grandmother has a recollection of being a little girl and like some of the like older like Puerto Ricans just being like, you know what I'm saying? Like just saying this like mindless over and over again. And she was just like, that was just funny to her. You know what I'm saying? Like, well,
it sounds like a chant.
Yeah, and then not for nothing, be like some of the stuff people be talking about, like, like smoke a cigar and keep the evil spirits away while you're praying the rosary. Like, what? That don't got nothing to do with nothing.
I've never heard of that.
You've never heard that?
I've never heard of that ever.
Yeah, like
what type of household you grew up with, bro? Because
very
that's very Bronxian.
It's very spiritual, but like not religious. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's like it's the mixing of like some of the like island primitive religions that went in with some of that stuff. Like stuff like leave a bowl of water behind the door. I don't know if you heard some of that stuff.
I've heard of nail bread on top of your door and not leave a bowl of water behind the door.
Yeah, like there's a couple of them weird things, whatever. But then my grandmother's family, all of them turned Jehovah's Witness. You know what I'm saying? And so she was just like, man, I don't know what to do with any of this stuff. Then like my grandfather, like he like half was Catholic, and then my great grandfather was a Freemason. You know what I'm saying? And so
that's different.
Yeah, so as I'm saying, like there was
Freemason?
So anyway, Freemason.
Google it later.
Okay.
Go to the history check.
So there's like a big but that's kind of that mindless, you know what I'm saying, things like that. Like because of that, even years later, like I had to be one to explain to my grandmother, this is what's happening in the world. That's why that's being said that way. So
that's good that you did though.
I don't know, I feel like kind of like what Jose was saying earlier. Sometimes, like even here at Mass, how many times haven't we sat here and just mindlessly responded? I feel like we really noticed that when they started changing the words of the Mass, and we're still responding with the old responses. It was more because of habit, like you were just saying it because it was routine and it was coming, because that's what you were used to. That's what you knew was coming.
It's like that is the creed. You ever try and say the creed yourself and you can't? Like, but when you're in Mass, you say it perfectly.
Yeah.
With everybody.
Yeah.
So, like, I feel like a lot of times, and again, I feel like on this whole journey, I feel like it took me to work here for me to realize like the importance of prayer. It took me to work here again as a DRE, to realize the importance of prayer, to I don't want to say to take it more serious, because I've always taken prayer serious, but I guess to like really focus on the words that I'm praying and not just saying it. Because we used to, I remember as a little girl when my grandmother died, doing the novena, I knew the prayers and I was just saying the prayers, but I never took the time to listen to the prayers and what the words, what they actually meant, and stuff like that. So I feel like in a lot of ways, my prayer life was on autopilot or
cruise control.
Yeah, I'm gonna start mixing them up before.
No, there's an interesting dynamic with both of those, but I'll bring it up in a second.
So I feel like my prayer life was definitely and just the routine of, like Heidi said, coming to Mass, because it was something that we had to do instead of something that I wanted to do. And it wasn't until, again, I started working here as a DRE that I was like, you know what? God called me back here for a reason, and I'm going to take it serious this time. You know what I mean? So I don't want to say that my faith was on it, but definitely my prayer life was on it for a while. And even now, like we talk about this all the time, and I think I even mentioned it last week that like throughout this whole pandemic, my prayer life has gotten so much stronger, you know, because I feel like the only way to get through this is through prayer, you know, to pray for other people, to pray for what's going on in the world, to pray for all this stuff. And I feel like now is the perfect time to build that relationship. If you don't already have one, start one with God, and if you do, strengthen it with God. And I feel like that's one way of getting yourself out of that autopilot or cruise control mindset, and just building on it from there.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe y'all just better than me, because I'll catch myself on autopilot a lot. Let's just be honest with you. Like I'm doing stuff.
But are you a person that's like drawn to routine though? Because I feel like that plays a big part.
Yes and no, because like I'm also one of those people that like I've always said this, and I was like I could never work a regular desk job. You know what I'm saying? Like I would like shoot myself in the process. You know what I'm saying? Like because I'm like I can't do tedious tasks. In fact, it's funny. Like I do this stuff. I hate video editing. You know what I'm saying? Because it's so tedious. Like it's so like cutting little pieces, whatever the case is. But like at least it's actively engaged. Like I hate things that are like I have to do it over and over and over again. Like, you know.
So you would hate being an accountant?
Anything that has anything to do with just following the process. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like if there's no creativity involved. Like yeah. But I in another sense I do like putting myself on routines in a sense, like you know, because I learned that like I learned this a long time ago. Creative people specifically need deadlines, or else you'll just never get it done.
Yeah, you know that's me. If I don't have a deadline, it's not happening.
Yeah, and so what I learned a while back is I have to give myself deadlines. You know what I'm saying? Like intentionally, like daily. Like I one time I was using this thing. I was into like studying about big business stuff and all that, and I was looking at like the Covey. I don't know if y'all know about that stuff, like the Covey planner and all of that. Like it's literally like they literally, you plan minute by minute your day. You know what I'm saying? And every night, the day before, you're supposed to reflect, see if you hit your goals and all of that. Like
that's not micromanaging.
It is, but it's like it's one of the things like in big business that they do in order to like stay on task and like always like be pushing forward, right? And so I remember like honestly I was like 20, maybe 19, 20, that was introduced to me. And I like tried doing it. I kept it for a while and I was like, okay, this is too much for me. But even since then, like I've adapted it. Like now it's as simple as like when we were here in the office, I have like I'll write a little post-it, boom, 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 boom. This is what I need to get done for the day. And I just cross it off as I go along. You know, like I'll plan it. By the end of the day, I need to do these things. But I don't go like by this hour, this.
By 10 a.m.
I will say that's kind of what's been hard on me in this quarantine, because I'm one of those people that like Sunday nights, I plan out my week, and not like, it's weird because like in my job, I have 4 locations that I have to be at once a week at least. So like that was most of my planning time. It's like, where are you going to go at what time? But now it's like the bedroom, the bathroom, or the sala, or the kitchen. Pick one.
But I think that's one of the reasons why, even for autopilot, because I had a teen, one of the young people reach out to me and was like, look, I don't even know how to stay on schedule to do my classwork or to do anything, because they don't have, you knew you had to be at school at this time. Yeah. You knew lunch was at this time. And those things helped you progressively move forward. It's different when you have to choose it yourself. And so, I don't know, I found myself on that. And like when I grew up, like my father used to be like so strict on like, use your brain, use your head. What's wrong with you? You got a brain for it. Smack. You know, like I remember one time getting like popped because I forgot I was cooking something in the kitchen, right? And like the stove is on this side, right? And I had whatever was on the opposite side of the counter, because the other counter was behind me, right? And I don't know why I didn't think about it. I just was like grabbing it, bringing it across, putting it in. Okay, and he came across like, stupid, why don't you put it right next to it so you're just doing that and you don't drop it all over the place. But honestly, like it's weird, like maybe it's just because I'm extra. You know what I'm saying? That
Yeah.
I even caught myself the other day doing that. I put it on the opposite side of the counter, and I was like, wait, why am I doing this? Oh, okay. Now, like I had to, but yeah, but part of it. So it's funny that and maybe it's the writer in me that catches the difference between when you say autopilot or cruise control, right? Because the word control is still there on cruise control, and so
That's
sometimes
why I suggested it, because you still, like, when you're driving on cruise control, you still gotta steer.
But that's
So
what I'm saying.
You gotta like do something.
But there's still some level of control. There's times that are both. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I couldn't
getting mad deep.
I couldn't choose the financial thing that I was brought into. You know what I'm saying? Like when I look back, like when I look at like my mom's side of the family, like my grandfather's one of the ones that like chose good things, and because of that, my mom was able to have certain things that I was able to have certain. I didn't have no control of that. That was a good thing. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
There's also things like if I look at other parts of my family, and I find like on the other side of Christianity, they use this term a lot. It's called generational curses, you know, where it's like what I do now affects my great grandchildren.
Yeah.
And they have no clue. You know what I'm saying? I had a conversation with someone else recently that was like basically trying to compare stuff. And I'm like, bro, you ain't never have to worry about whether you was going to eat dinner at night or not. You know what I'm saying? You didn't have to worry if your cell phone bill was going to be paid or not. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't choose my parents getting divorced. Like I didn't choose. And so those things put me in different places. That's also kind of a part of like the autopilot thing. You didn't choose that. It put you in a place and navigated you to a spot that you couldn't choose. But cruise control, in a sense, is like you choose it, right? So for example, like having like I'm gonna go to my workout routine. Like I know that's there. I can choose that, and like that puts something in place that's good for me moving forward. You know
I feel like I'm sorry. I'm just saying, like, I feel like just thinking about it, like just your cruise control, your autopilot transforms into cruise control as you get older. Because when you're young, a lot of it's on autopilot. Like a lot of the circumstances that you are in, you cannot control, nor do you have any say or whatever. But as you get older and you get more control, more mature, you start developing into cruise control. For example, it's like, I'm older now I can control my economical situation. I'm older now, I can control my religious belief. I can control my time, I can control when I go to bed, I can control when I do this, I can control when I eat, I can control how I eat. It's just up to me.
But the other side of that is like, if you weren't exposed to it, even as you get older, you know what I'm saying? Like,
well, there's still a freedom to be exposed to everything when you're older, as long as you have the freedom to do it, as long as there's no things tying you down.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean,
it depends though, because if the opportunity is not offered, how would you know that it's there?
Yeah, like, okay, like let me use an extreme example. Like, what if there was a person, like a dude, drama in his household, grew up in the hood, blah, blah, blah. He winds up getting into like selling drugs, whatever, like literally as a teen, gets locked up, whatever the case is. Now all he knows is the system. And even as he gets out and gets older, you have like that recidivism, you know what I'm saying? You keep going back to it because of what was in place.
That's all you know.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, you could choose it, but it's also like the collective part of the community to help that. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. I just feel like it's a dialogue between the two. It's not so black and white.
Yeah.
I mean,
I understand it now. Like when you put it that way. Yeah.
I feel like in every situation, like even when we're talking about like when you're younger. So when you're younger, you choose. As you get older, you say, all right, like my parents were like this and I hated it, so I'm not gonna put my kids through that. Or like, you know, I've had this conversation even with the kids when I was a caseworker. You know, I would be like, okay, yeah, you were born into the situation, this unfortunate situation, or fortunate, depending on how, you know, their life was going. Some kids, their life gets, but they get adopted, their life is better off. Other kids, they're not as fortunate. So, okay, yeah, you were born into this situation. So what are you gonna do different to make sure that you don't put yourself in this situation, that you don't fall back into that cycle, or what are you gonna do differently? You know what I mean? Because a lot of it's a vicious cycle, and it's not so much that they can't get out of it. It's just that they won't get out of it because this is just what they know, and they're not okay with pushing the boundaries to try to test the waters.
Hey, and I mean to get real spiritual real quick. Like that's the difference with Jesus, right? Like
Right.
We are in a vicious cycle, but God had to break through history in order to change that. You know what I'm saying? And I think it's like our job. Ooh, I didn't even intend on going in this direction at all.
Keep
You
it
know what
going.
I'm saying? Like at all.
Our God is not distant from us. Our God took on human flesh in the person of Jesus Christ. Our God seeks us out. No matter what our past sins or errors have been, our God journeys with us.
Like, no, like if we're ones who are following, like it's our job to go and break into the worlds of those people to get them out of those situations, whatever it may be. I mean, we're using extreme examples, like, you know what I'm saying? But whatever, even if it's smaller stuff like that's habitual, that can continue on for generations. And so that's cruise control. Like I think about this now, like the things I do now, like are gonna affect my kids and so on and so forth. So I heard this from a speaker one time that he was like, man, praying with God, and God was like, yo, like I can only bless your ministry as far as your body can take it. And I was like, word, like I gotta go dumb hard, so I'm in the best like health position that I'm able to like push this forward. You know what I'm saying? Like I also like things like Chi-Chi did this literally yesterday. She took one of my son's little wrestling toys, and this is one of the funny things of how much
Action figures.
Yeah.
Someone
Action
got
figures.
attacked.
Action figures. They're actually the collectible items. Anyway, keep going.
Dolls. Continue.
No, they are not. Don't. No. I'm trying to step up for your summer now, because if you see this,
We can hear you, sweetie. You don't need to put your microphone in your mouth.
Yeah, it's true.
That's the coronavirus.
Coronavirus.
Stick up for your son right now, because if he hears, he's gonna be a little bit upset. Dad, they're not toys; they're action figures.
The wrestling dude took him, and like she like on her own, like I wish we would have caught this on camera, put the arms like this and then put them on the floor, and she was like, it's daddy, like he was doing push-ups. You know what I'm saying? I was like, how did you even like, you pay like, but stuff like that, like I know, like even from like, despite like when I think back, one of the reasons why it's easy for me to choose it is, even though my parents split and all that type of stuff, like as a kid, I saw my pops work at home. And so it was a part of, I saw my pops intentionally be like, even as he got older, like, and the times I would visit him, like he started eating differently. Like he started like looking for like, not only but
Vanessa
like,
started it.
healthy
That's
foods,
dirty.
like in general, just healthy foods.
Rabbit food?
Like rabbit food. Hey, if we're honest though, like it's the reason why a lot of minorities have bad health problems, because we don't know how to eat.
Exactly.
All we eat is grease. You know what I'm saying? And salt and
Exactly.
stuff like
No,
that.
We
Like,
don't eat kale.
Not only that, but like healthy food expensive.
no, it's
No,
not
it's
true.
not.
Actually,
This
it's
is a
it's
conversation,
becoming more of a
Brandon.
level.
This is
playing
the
field.
side. Remember the
We've
spin-off
had this
that we were talking
conversation.
about?
Yeah, we need to do an episode just on that stuff.
We don't, because
I mean,
honestly, it's cheaper than you think.
Yeah, and prayer
we'll
life
talk
is
about
also
that.
cruise control, right? Like I've learned, like I need to schedule in, like these are the times of the day I'm gonna get in my Bible, I'm gonna pray, like do all this.
That's true.
And it's like, it's autopilot. Like, yeah, I do it at that time, whatever. It's just like a thing, but it's kind of a controlled liturgy. We're Catholic, you know what I'm saying? Like it's purpose. The readings are planned out for us to take us on a journey together. So anyway, I went on a little rant. My bad. Is there anything y'all could think of that's like more cruise control in your life? Like more like this is something either I chose or like something like that along those lines?
I need a minute. Something
It's been beneficial. It's something. It's habitual, but like it's something that is beneficial, and I kind of like put it in place.
I think for me, it's been like specifically my prayer life or like my involvement with the church, because that's something that I never saw at home. That's something that came specifically like from me, and my parents didn't get it. They kind of still don't. They're like, why you need to go to the car to talk to your friends? And I'm like, filming a podcast. They don't get it. So
Que eso? Un podcast.
yeah, they're like, what? So yeah, like it's something that I started doing very young, like as a teen. And Mother Doliente, who was the DRE when I was taking confirmation classes, was the one that started it. You know, she's the one that put that little spark there. And with them, like that religious order of nuns, everything is very like scheduled with them. And they kind of would like get a little group of us and they would involve us in you know, their daily prayers and things like that. And it's something that I wasn't exposed to as a kid. Like, I didn't really see that. We only went to church for like Holy Week and maybe Christmas. And like if somebody died, that was pretty much it. So for me as an 11-year-old to be able to say like, this is my own faith, this is my own prayer life, it was something like very radical for me. Like, it was very epic because I was like, I get to make the choices here. And that was really cool. And I think it began as something like that, like cruise control. It went on autopilot for a while, but it's definitely something that I've always had a control and a say in because no one was really forcing me to. I would say that the only thing my parents really forced me to do was to go to the classes, but at a point it became something that I wanted to do. I'm gonna pick Josu. Is this where Josu is?
I'm up.
Above you.
For me, it's below.
I'm above. Something that's cruise control. I would say college for me, because it was a moment where like I had to honestly reflect what was it that I truly wanted to do, and like something I wanted to be serious about, like whether or not I wanted to go to college, whether or not this is what I wanted to major in, and like what was my career plan. So like at first, like it was like whatever, like you know, like the transition from high school to college is completely different. And so like it was like I had to put myself in that routine, like, okay, like this is the time you got to be up to get to class, this is the time you need to take to study, this is the time that you have to do this and that. And so like sometimes if you weren't like disciplined enough, you would lack off on what you had to do. And so like that threw me off at first because I'm used to just going to like one borough and then that's it. Then going to Manhattan and like you have the whole city, is like, oh, what's this? Oh, what's that? And like you get distracted, and then there's so many different things. So like it took me a while to get back into cruise control. I was just like pulled over to the side, like I was just, like parked my car. So now it really did take me a while to get back into that routine and to like kind of know like, all right, this is my routine of what I'm doing, but I also have to consciously know what I'm doing at the same time. Like I can't just be sitting there and like days off. Like, no, that's not how it's gonna work, because you can't just sit in the class and pretend to be knowing or going along with the conversation, because you'll be completely lost. So I would definitely say college was one. And also like just being able to like participate in church. Like I could have kept my faith at a minimum. I could have just been one of those people who have been to another and then be like, nah, this is not really for me. But if I wasn't in search for that, then I would have never continued, which would have never led me to be on a podcast, which would have never led me to be like a CCD teacher, would have never led me to be, thankfully, one of the people that the kids actually come to ask for advice and stuff like that, or actually like, you know, like to chill with and like have that conversation about God, but also about other things in their lives. So, you know, I couldn't have left myself in that parked car. I had to like get back on my stuff and like continue my journey. So yeah. I'm gonna tag in Vanessa.
I felt it, and I'm like, no, go to Rigo. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like it's a balance. Like there's a lot of things that may seem like they're on autopilot, and now looking at them, I'm like, no, they're kind of cruise control.
Some of them are even cruise control that maybe like God set up that you didn't even realize. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like me being here in general, like working here. I mean, you guys have all heard that story 1,000 times, so I'm not gonna repeat it. But just the way I ended up back here. That was a complete cruise control autopilot from him. You know, like I feel like balancing everything that I have on my plate. Like you guys know, last year and 2 years before, I was getting my master's. That was an extremely difficult task, while also working full time here as a DRE. And I don't know. I feel like what we do here is not. I don't want to say it's a job. You know what I mean? Because I'm passionate about what I do here. I know Brandon is also passionate about what he does here. And we always have this conversation where it doesn't feel like work because we love what we do. You know what I mean? But it's still very time consuming, what we do, especially like you guys all know at this time of the year, we're getting ready for sacraments. You know, sacraments would have taken place over on the Easter
Vigil.
Mass.
Vigil. There you go. Thank you guys. The Easter Vigil. So what my spring semester would have been, or what my spring semester was last year, was the hardest time because I was taking 4 courses on top of trying to plan sacraments and studying a topic that I had never studied before. You know, theology is a very difficult subject, especially when you have some teachers or professors that like to just sit there and hear themselves talk. So they're just rambling on, and like you start talking about one thing and you end up like somewhere else completely different. So
That has nothing to do with the chapter.
They lose track of themselves and they just like hearing them talk.
The head without the heart. Is really when you think about it.
Yeah. So they're just going on, and then I'm trying to make sure that I'm finishing everything that I had to do to graduate, on top of making sure that I'm not slacking here. So I feel like that was just a lot, and then still having responsibilities at home with Soraya and stuff like that. So I feel like that was extremely difficult, and that was a point in my life where I felt like everything was just on autopilot. Like I was just going to school because I know I had to go to class. I was just doing assignments just enough to get by, but I wasn't really comprehending what the assignments were because it was just like so much like in the air. So I know that was like a really like, I don't want to say a low point because I feel like I turned to God more because I was like, listen, this is for you, so just guide me through it. But I felt like that whole semester I was just like on autopilot. Like even here at the job, like I was just sending stuff into the diocese just to meet the deadline, and like making sure like I had my little checklist, because I still, even like on Mondays I'll come in, or on Sundays when I'm here, I'm normally like, all right, this is everything that I have to submit this week, or this is everything that I have to make sure I accomplish, and then daily I would check things off. So I just felt like that whole semester was just the autopilot. And then when June came and went and all the sacraments finished, I was like, how did I do that? Like, you look back and it's like you ever, like Rigo said earlier, when you're driving and you're kind of just like, you're on that track, you start zoning out to the music or something like that, and you get home and you park and you're like, how did I get here? Because like, you're like, did I eat that light or did I actually stop? Like, because you don't remember, and it's not that you're not paying attention, just that you get zoned out. And I feel like when everything finished, I was like, how did I manage to do all of that? And like everything got done and got done correctly, you know? Like, so I feel like that was a really like autopilot cruise control moment in my life.
Something just dawned on me. I'll share in a little bit.
I'm done, so you can go.
No, it's cool. It's I'll share it. Yeah, Rigo, you go, man.
High five you, Rigo.
I keep that. That is dope.
Okay.
No,
Can we clear up what the question is? Because like I have like 4 different answers. Like I got so confused. I thought we did this already. And I'm like, oh, we double up.
But the part of it. So like, right, the first part was more autopilot, like you just kind of mindlessly. There's a part that's more like cruise control. Either you chose or it was chosen for you, and it seemed to like guide in a good way. You know what I'm saying? Rather than just being a useless sort of thing.
Yeah. So I think the one thing that comes to me now is when I was in high school and I was running track, like I had to choose to get up and run. Like there'd be a lot of days on my off days I was like, oh, you're supposed to run today, and I'd be like, And it's just the initial first step, like literally the first actual step, like the push up when you run. That's the hardest part. Because Amir would be like, yo, I gotta get up, I gotta get dressed, I gotta go outside. But once I started like that first step and I started going, like I was good, you know. And then I had to deal with the soreness afterwards, but that's another thing. But for me, just that always like, you know, when I had to go to practice, just like, oh my God, we got practice today, or I want to go home, like I want to go to sleep or whatever. The first step, once I had that first step, like literally the first, I was good after that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I guess Brendan.
Yeah, no, so something literally hit me as you were saying what you just said right there. This was not planned. So, yo, we were just saying like, okay, let's start backwards. There is the self-choosing things, right? That sets up your schedule, sets up your life. There's the other people choosing things, set up your schedule, set up your life, whether it's family, whether it's just like the friends of the school you go to, whatever, right? And then there's the like kind of God-given things that are set and chosen for your schedule, for your life. I just worked it backwards. Self, people, God, God, people, self. Yeah.
Mind blown.
Open your third eye. Open
Going
your
back to
third
episode
eye.
1 when we talked
Open your
about how we
third
always
eye,
wrap
yo.
it back around.
Yo.
Full
My
connection.
son Brandon is woke. Woke.
Yo.
Someone has to be, because half of us are dead today.
That like hit me. I was like, oh, Jesus, that was crazy. Nah, I mean, so there's a lot of things like, so for example, remember my junior year of high school, there was a guidance counselor just like took a liking to me, helped me get a part of this program. What was the name of that program? I don't remember, but they helped you like go and like write your resume, like how to do stuff properly, whatever. Then they looked at the stuff you were into and set you up for an internship that summer. I didn't choose to be part of that program. That guidance counselor just took a liking to me and suggested me for it, and I went. You know what I'm saying? And then I started working for a program called Kids Creative, which literally like all the icebreakers and stuff that I use in youth ministry literally come from Kids Creative days. You know what I'm saying? Like my whole approach to like how I deal with young people with me working in Kids Creative. There, I was also like, I met a friend, dude named Eric Foreman. And I was talking about this one.
That 70 show?
Huh? Nah. This dude that I knew,
What?
He was like, long story short, like dude who came from the hood but didn't want to live that lifestyle, literally like where all his brothers and stuff went to the streets. He said like, yo, look, I'm gonna try and do the real business route and like start like literally like I remember us being like 18 and he was looking at like investments and stuff, and I never, like, you know what I'm saying, I wouldn't have thought of that kind of stuff, but like, I happened to just meet him and like and then he started doing this thing called, he was gonna do what was it, I forgot, it was like a talk show that he wanted, and he was like, yo, you're creative, I want you to be in charge of the creative directive department for it. And that's how I learned how to work, like the first time looking at some of that software and stuff like that. Working in Kids Creative, they got a grant to do videos from Manhattan Neighborhood Network. That's when I learned video editing software. You know what I'm saying? Graphics happened because I was in a rap group in high school, and like it was just like, man, we got to make covers. And like I look at like the stuff I'm doing now, like a lot of that stuff, like I could not have had the skills. Live streaming the masses the way that we do would not happen had I not had all those experience. And a lot of them, I didn't choose them. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm just like, yo, Holy Spirit, you funny, bro. Like you is like scheming. You know what I'm saying? The whole time.
Like that's crazy.
Yeah. Like even when all this, like I've heard stories from some of the other youth ministers and other people who are going around, and they're like broken by this time, and I'm like fired up. You know, like just like. And it's like, even like some of them were expressing like their grief because of certain clergy and certain other people who work in the church who are like lazy with trying to like meet people where they are now, or like not stepping up to the plate. And I'm like, man, I'm used to being judged by people in church, so that don't mean nothing to me no more, you know? But it's like, I don't know, working it all the way back around, I'm like, dang God, like you training me in the process without me even choosing that stuff, you know what I'm saying? And so we were supposed to have a segment in this show, but we're like,
I don't need it.
Yeah, like it's time. It's been
dang. I was so prepared. All right.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to save that one
For
to
what,
the next
bro?
one. There's supposed to be a new segment called. Oh, you know what? Let's just add this segment in today. This segment is called Roast Rigo. So we get
Oh,
free
yeah,
All right,
reign
that
we're
to
was
just
done.
roast you.
We're done. In the name of the Father, the Son,
Brandon, you've never made me so happy in my life.
the
That was for
Holy
Friday's conversation, right? Yeah.
Spirit.
It usually
All
just
Rico has to
happens.
do is
Hold up. So it usually just happens. Now we're gonna schedule time for it so that it doesn't
But then
overlap.
it's
I'm
not,
losing
it's
you
not
guys.
organic. It's not organic. It's not organic. That's not the point of the show.
all
guys.
Rico
You can't-
has to do is take off his hat. And then boom.
No, it's not organic. We can't do that. No, it's not organic.
Rico, not everybody looks like a bum on the regular. I
What's this?
swear, tell them.
And that's all. Period.
What do you mean
Yes.
it's not organic? Your whole
This show
Always
has to be
organic.
organic. This show has to be like
whole life
naturally.
is a joke, and the Holy Spirit set it up that way so that we could roast you on this show. Come on.
The Holy Spirit give me a lot of
Listen to Brandon
patience, cause I'm tired of y'all.
Yo, mami,
Anyway,
All right.
it's me praying. It's me waiting to pray.
Let's pray that we'll close
Keep-
out because this was a good one. But
was a good one. I had some final thoughts.
you want to throw a final thought before we pray? That'd be cool.
Yeah, I kind of like what we were talking about, how like cycles, how we let our life go in cycles, and like how it's important for you to notice the routines in your life and to notice the things that you do so that you can then break those cycles. Jesus his sole purpose was to break the cycle in the Jewish religion. And he was so radical for that. And that's why people looked at him like he was crazy. That's why he got crucified, So I feel like a lot of our work with the youth is breaking those cycles that they might not even know that they're a part of. So I don't know. I guess that's the challenge for the week.
Yo, and
I feel
setting
like
up
youth
new
work-
cycles. And setting up new cycles. I'm thinking of Father's homily earlier today. Yo, it was
Word.
say this in like 30 seconds. Emmaus, right? The whole road to Emmaus story, that happens on the first day of the week. The Jewish people would have realized first day means the beginning of creation, when light was created. What another unspoken thing in that story is that a new cycle began when Jesus met them on the road with the resurrection.
Yes.
Crazy. That's how that all even.
That's one of my favorite stories too. Wow. That's
Go ahead,
another
Rigo.
good one. Go ahead, Rigo. Pray.
no.
We want to.
No, he has something to say. He has something to say.
No, I was just saying youth ministry in general is breaking a huge cycle because a lot of if you in the church, right, most of the ideas people have is that the youth don't like church. The youth ain't gonna do nothing, like where is the youth, right? And then even if you young, you're like, yo, I don't need to go to church, like I'm young, like So just youth ministry in general, everything that y'all do, everything that we do in here, it's breaking a cycle and hopefully, starting something new. And I forgot which pope was it, but he was like, yo, the youth is not the future, the youth is now, because if they don't get involved now, like the church is clipped, like they're done. My bad. When I get into it, I do
pretty
that.
sure Pope said that. It's clear.
Yeah, just like that.
I can't wait till we have like a hood pope, and it's just like
Hood Pope.
a hood pope. So he could be preaching, and at the end, I'd be like, was that facts?
He's gonna be from Brooklyn Ham.
Okay. So like I was saying, he's gonna stop. So what happened was back in the day, and then I say he's gonna go off of his thing. It's gonna be amazing. Anyway, Josue, final thoughts?
I think it's also important to realize like your faith is not only within the building of the church. So like that's something that is a cycle we should break off as well. Because like I forgot what it was, how it was said, but isn't it like when there's a gathering of three, Jesus is present there?
When two more,
or
Yes,
two
together,
more, boom.
I am
So,
there.
I'm pretty sure you and your dog, you and your brother, you and your sibling, whoever it is, like you guys can be in that communion. Jesus is there. It doesn't matter. God is always there by your side. So we have to break that kind of thought of I have to be present in this building for God to be there with me.
I'm just thinking of my sister's dog. I don't think she's Catholic. I think she worships somebody else because there be random times like I be seeing her like she slams her head on the floor and just be dragging herself. Like that's not what we as Catholics.
That's what we all do.
Is this
I
quarantine?
kid you not. I kid you not. Sometimes when I'm around you, Rigo, I want to slam my head into things.
Likewise. Feelings mutual.
Just slam it to the steering wheel, let God take the wheel. Whatever happens, happens.
Yo, these are the best final thoughts ever.
It's my last podcast.
You said
You
that
say
last
that
week.
every podcast.
I know.
We're still waiting for it, Rico.
I mean, listen, I told Brandon, let's talk about this production budget. We don't really need Rico.
I do this for free.
That
Oh,
it's
you-
still costing us.
No, come on. We need more footage of Rico students.
Yo,
Okay.
shout out to Rico.
Yo, shout out to my students. Shout out to senior AP chemistry that y'all
Found the
stalked me
podcast.
and y'all found this podcast. Shout out to y'all. Y'all know he was.
Y'all
I'm not gonna say your
welcome
names.
to be featured on the show. Tell us what Mr. Gomez does in class. Let's roll.
Nah, you're good.
Comment
You're good.
below.
You're good. I will fail each and every one of you.
And you'll lose your job.
And it's on camera.
All right, let's pray. Rico, again, you got it, man. I think you got
All
the
right.
thing. Like you,
And
we just crucified you, so you
Yeah,
just took away our
I'm
shit.
over this. I'm gonna be risen soon. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. God, thank you for allowing us to be here today. Another week of health. In this dark times, there are some shining lights. Help us and everyone in the world to help see those little shining lights that you are, and to know that you are amazing and that you are love and that you are still here for us, even though a lot of people think that you're not. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen.
That was this episode.
I don't know how many bops have come on the radio, and I wanted to just put it up, but then I'm like, podcast. But
That's
thank
the
you.
end of this
Nana.
episode.
That was Heidi's hotel.
I guess I can't put that like outro music over this. We're just gonna let that play, and we out. GPS, God be himself.
We're gonna get muted again.
Oh, I thought we were like done when he said amen.
He was doing the closing thing that he always does.
We're
Oh,
close.
Six
It's already
We're
done.
Six
Episode done.
in.
Peace.
Do it again so you can like edit.
Just say
edit.
goodbye. Just say goodbye.
Just keep it right there. Peace.
Go.